Hey guys, Bobby Hughes here with Point Firearms, and we're in the kitchen again. Going to make a video on how to make homemade apple preserves and then can them. Also going to teach my wife how to make apple preserves as well. So anyway, it's a learning experience for her and a learning experience for you guys. So anyway guys, what we're going to do first, I've already got some stuff started. I'm going to show you here in just a second, but I want to talk real quick about purchasing your fruits and apples and things like that you're going to be using. You know, I know for me, I love to cook, and for me to go to the grocery store and go to the produce and buy things fresh off the produce rack individually, loose, it makes me feel like I am, you know, doing something cool, like I'm buying fresh stuff to cook or whatever instead of buying it in a package. Well, 9 times out of 10 you can find things that are packaged, produce that's pre-packaged, or produce that fruits that are you know, in a bundle or anything like that, and it's going to be just as good, if not the same exact thing as the loose stuff, and you're going to save a lot of money in the process. Alright, for instance, the apples that I bought were from right over the border in Michigan. They were from a Michigan apple orchard, and they had them loose. They were Red Delicious. They had them loose for $1.09 a pound. Well, right down from it, they had the same exact apples in a 3-pound bag for $2.87 a bag. All right, and so it doesn't take a mathematician or a professor in college to figure out that $2.87 is less than $3.27. Alright, so which would be the price of 3 pounds loose versus the 3 pounds in a bag. Anyway, so that's already one way. Now another little tip too with buying it pre-packaged is, in order to get an exact 3-pound bag of apples, more than likely they'd have to put the apples in, and then when they got close, cut it in half, you know, or quarter it or whatever to get an exact 3 pounds. So they can't sell you less than the advertised amount, so they have to sell you more than the advertised amount. So if it says it's a 3-pound bag, weigh it and see how much it really weighs. Right? And most of the time you'll actually get more poundage than what it advertises. I bought 3 bags, which would normally be 9 pounds. One bag weighed 4 pounds, so 1 complete pound more. The other 2 bags weighed a ½ pound more each. So I got a total of 11 pounds for 9 pounds worth of price, and broken down, that's 85 cents per pound, as opposed to the $1.09 a pound for the loose apples. So over time that could definitely add up. So anyway, like I said, I bought 11 pounds of apples. I made 1 batch of apple preserves already, and then that was right at about 3.5 pounds. I'm doing another batch of about 3.5 pounds, and then I cut up the 4-pound bag, and I've got it dehydrating right now. So it's important to use your produce while it's fresh, your fruits while they're fresh, and not wait and let them get real soft before you start to do anything with them, or they'll turn to mush. So you know, do it quick after you get it. Don't wait around for a long time, maybe just a couple of days at the max. So why apple preserves as opposed to apple jam or apple jelly? Well, apple jelly is nothing more than apple juice that is solidified with basically something like pectin and sugar. All right, so you're just getting the apple juice with the apple jelly. It holds its shape as of the jar, and you know, everybody knows what jelly is. I like jelly, but I don't like it as good as jam or preserves. My second favorite is jam. Jam is basically the fruit, but it's mashed up like for apple jam, it would be mashed up like applesauce and then made into a jam using pectin or something to solidify it a little bit, to gel it. And then your next one is apple preserves. Apple preserves is just what it's called, preserves. So it's what it does is it preserves the fruit, the shape of the fruit. So in whatever shape or form you cut your fruit in or dice your fruit in for this, that's the shape that it's going to take once it's made. Now I like preserves because sometimes, especially being from the South, you know, I like jelly on my biscuits, but sometimes I'm eating biscuits and gravy, and you know what? I need a little bit of sweetness in there with it. So I'll get me a spoon and some apple preserves or some strawberry preserves or grape preserves, whatever. Put it on my plate there, and then whenever I'm eating my biscuits and gravy, I might catch my fork on it and get a little bit of that sweetness in there, and gives it a real nice flavor. I also like eating real chunks of fruit when I make my peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So for me, preserves is my favorite. Of course, everyone else is going to have their favorite, but that's mine. So tonight we're going to be making some apple preserves. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so the first step in getting ready to make your apple preserves is, even before you start peeling and coring and slicing your apples up, is you're going to be using a hot water bath processor or canner to process your high acid foods. And since this is high acid, this is what we're going to use. Alright, so what we're going to be making tonight is 6 half pints of our apple preserves. And so what I've done is I've put the water in the pot, and I'll show you guys in just a little bit. Put the water in the pot, and I filled my jars, my half pints, up with water, and put those in there as well after I washed them. And what that's going to do is it's just going to help sterilize everything without wasting a bunch of extra water. Alright? What you want to do is set your jars in and fill the water up to where they just cover the tops of the jars without lids. And then when you pour your water out of the jars, add your preserves and put it back into process, you'll have just enough water over the top of the actual jars and lids. Alright, so that's an easy way to remember that. Another thing too, guys, when you're processing, you can reuse your water. So if you know you're going to be, it takes a lot of water to do this. So if you know that you're making some stuff tonight and tomorrow you're going to make some more, turn your water off, leave it in the pot, just put a lid on it to keep anything from getting in there. And then when you crank it back up the next day, put a couple of tablespoons of vinegar in there, crank the heat back up, and it'll kill off anything that's in there. Alright, germs get killed. 99.9% of the germs that are going to be in it die off at 180 plus degrees. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to make sure that our water is resting right at about 180 degrees, and we want to maintain that 180 degrees until we get ready to actually process. So I'm over 180 now. I'm going to go ahead and drop my temperature down a little bit so that it'll maintain. I'm going to turn it down to about half, medium high, and we'll roll with that. Alright? So while that's going, then you can go ahead and start coring and peeling and dicing up your apples. Now, like I said, cut your apples to the size that you're going to want them, because by preserving them, you're going to maintain their shape and form. Alright, you don't want a lot of peel in it, but if there's a little bit of peel, it's okay, no big deal. But anyway, what I've got here is right at about 6 cups of diced up apples, which is going to be about 3.5 pounds in the bag, alright, or loose or whatever, by the time you core them and all that stuff. About 6 cups of diced up apples. Alright, so once you've got your apples diced up and ready to go, you're going to take a sauce pot or a pot or a saucepan, whatever. Decent size one. It doesn't have to be huge, but you don't want it too small or you won't fit all your stuff in there. Alright, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn it on. Alright, and we're going to add, one more. We're going to turn it on high, add a cup of water, 1 cup, and add our 6 cups of diced apples. Add your 6 cups of diced apples, and then you want 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I'm a little shy on that one, so I got to open a new bottle here. Right, so we got our 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, our 6 cups of diced apples, and our 1 cup of water. What we're going to do is leave this on high. Let it start to bubble up, and so you know that it's real hot, and then we're going to cover it and turn it down to simmer and let it simmer for 10 minutes. In the meantime, after you're waiting on that 10 minutes, the next thing you're going to need in the process is you're going to need 6 tablespoons of just some sort of pectin or it doesn't matter what brand it is, but 6 tablespoons of pectin. Alright guys, so we've got about 30 seconds left on our timer for our simmer. So now's the time to go ahead and make sure that you have everything ready. The only other stuff we're going to need for this process, because we're going to do a lot of stirring, is you want to go ahead and get about 4 cups of sugar ready to go. Yeah, lots of sugar. And have your lemon juice ready. And your spoon, of course. And like I said before, we've already got our pectin ready. Alright, so we're at 10 minutes now. What I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the cover. I'm going to give it a good stir. Alright, and then we've got our 6 tablespoons of pectin. So while you're stirring, go ahead and sprinkle your pectin in. The pectin is what gives you the gel, just so you know. So we've got our pectin in. Make sure that our apples are good and coated with it. And we're going to go ahead and crank our heat back up, medium high. Alright, we've got a good boil going now. So what we're going to do is go ahead and add our 4 cups of sugar. Same process. Stir it and just pour it in as you stir. Alright, and now you're going to want to go ahead and add 2 more tablespoons of lemon juice. Once you get your sugar and your lemon juice in, and you give it another good stir, what you want to do is you want it to come to a boil again, and you want to get it to a hard boil, a real steady rolling boil. Once you get to that phase, then you want to set your timer for a minute and let it boil without stirring it for 1 minute. Let it boil real hard for a minute until it gets to that boil stage. You need to stir it frequently to keep it from sticking or burning. So we've got a good rolling boil now. It took me about probably 5 minutes stirring it consistently. Or frequently to keep it from sticking. We're going to start our timer and let it boil for 1 minute without messing with it. Now in the meantime, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and move back over here, and we're going to take, we've got our seals, our lids in the jar here, in a bowl. We want to go ahead and take one of our jars with water in it and pour that hot water in that bowl and let those seals start to get soft. We're going to go ahead and take 3 of our jars out of our canner. now that they're good and hot. And go ahead and place them on our towel here and get ready to fill those. You put a little bit more water in this old jars here. Alright, there's our minute. And we want to give it a good stir while it's still on the heat. And then we're going to take it right off the heat and put it over here next to our jars. And I'm going to get some cinnamon. And I don't really know how much I'm going to put in here. You can use nutmeg, you can use cinnamon, you can use whatever. I like to use cinnamon because I love cinnamon. I'm going to put probably about 2 teaspoons of cinnamon in our apples. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and stir that in. Alright, done with this spoon. Now we're going to go ahead and ladle our hot preserves into our hot jars. Will you grab me that funnel, that green funnel? And then in that box over there, there's a long spatula looking thing with a magnet on one end of it. So we're going to go ahead, and what I'd like to do is take one good heap and scoop and then about a half of another one, and then get some juice to put in with it. And you want to leave about 1/4 inch of headspace on here. And it'll settle down a little bit. So you can put a little bit extra in and it'll settle down. Because you want them to stay hot. Alright, so now what we want to do is just make sure our levels are good. Those are about perfect. And then we're going to go ahead and add our seals and bands. Oh, before we do that, almost forgot. Be sure and wipe your rims off to make sure that there's no gooey stuff stuck there that can prevent the seal from happening. You just want it to go finger tight. Actually going to add a little bit of juice to this one. This is the part of the process where you kind of have to hurry, but you don't want to rush it. Because if you rush it, you'll make a mistake. And this is the part that counts. Making sure that your lids are good, or your rims are good and clean, and your lids are good and warm, and centered properly. Make sure not to over tighten your bands. Alright, once you get those 3 done, Then you can go ahead and move those back into your canner. And at this point in time, you can go ahead and crank your heat back up on your canner. And we want to take out our other 3 jars here. Alright, so what we're going to do is I've got it cranked back up on high here. We're going to wait for it to boil, to start boiling. Once it starts boiling, I'll be right back with you. So we just started boiling. It took about probably 10 to 15 minutes to start boiling. Another trick to speed that process up a little bit is start bringing your temperature up when you're finishing up your apple mixture. Alright, so that way it gets a head start on you. You don't want it too hot because your liquid's not going to be at that temperature. You don't want to take the chance of cracking a jar. So, but it's okay to get a little bit of a head start. So we're boiling now. I'm going to go ahead and put the cover on, and I'm going to start the timer for 10 minutes, and we're going to let it process for 10 minutes, and I'll be back with you when it's done. Alright guys, so it's been processing for 10 minutes now. So we want to go ahead and turn the heat off. And the cool thing with using a hot bath canner, warm bath canner, whatever you want to call it, is you don't have to wait for all the steam to drop out before you get to look at your canned goods. I hate that. I'm so impatient about that. So anyway, turn the heat off. Be sure to open the lid away from you, just like you would with a pressure canner, so that the steam pushes back. Let the water run off of it. And then you can go ahead and take your lid off. Now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to do it right now. It's still boiling a little bit, but I don't care. We're going to go ahead and remove our jars and place them on the towel. And that's pretty much it, guys. So now we just wait for the ping and let them cool down, and they'll be good to go. So that's pretty much how you make homemade apple preserves. There was our first ping right there. So anyway, guys, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Wanted to just go over some numbers with you real quick on the cost. Obviously, everybody likes to know what they're saving by spending their evenings after they get home from work canning, and they want to see the return on the investment. So I figured I'd crunch some numbers for you guys just a little bit. And anyway, what we'll do is just do a little comparison real quick. I've got a can of strawberry preserves here, and this is not a name brand. It's just an off-brand store brand from the local grocery store here, and it's the same amount in this as that's in actually it might be just a little bit more that's in there, but regardless, we paid almost $4 for this jar of strawberry preserves. I want to say it was like $3.89 or $3.99 or something like that, and that was on sale. And the thing about it is, with the strawberry preserves, if you look at the ingredients, you've got, it's not that bad, but it's got strawberries, high fructose corn syrup, sugar, fruit pectin, and citric acid. Alright, so our apple preserves has basically the same thing. We have our apples, we have sugar, fruit pectin, and citric acid, which is a combination of the pectin and the lemon juice as well, which gives us our citric acid. But there's a couple of big things that we don't have in here, and that's high fructose corn syrup and regular corn syrup. It's an accomplishment to know, it's comforting to know what actually goes into what you're eating. And since I saw everything that went into this, there's another ping. I know that it's good, and it may not be the healthiest thing, but it's not you know, it doesn't have the chemicals and things in it like a lot of the stuff in the stores has today. So anyway, there's another thing. $4, almost $4 for this one jar of strawberry preserves. So like I said, I crunched some numbers for you, and I figured out cost of everything for the apple preserves that we just made. And the jars are 50 cents a piece, and I bought this rack of jars new, so they came with the lid and the band, so I didn't have to worry about that. So 50 cents a piece for the jar. The apples, I used one full bag, 3-pound bag of apples. Actually, it's 3.5 pounds. It was $2.87. I used about $1 worth of pectin, $1 worth of sugar. Maybe I didn't use a quarter worth of lemon juice, but I just threw it in there. And a quarter worth of cinnamon. I didn't use that either, but I just made it that way. So our total comes out to $8.37 for our round of for the 6 jars of the apple preserves. That divided out comes down to $1.39 a jar. So you can either have a jar of this for $4, or you can have a jar of this for $1.39. So I'll take the $1.39 and what little bit of electricity it cost me to run my canner for an hour. Alright, so anyway guys, that's the down and dirty on it. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. One last tip for you: whenever you buy your jars, keep your boxes, because they come with these nice little dividers. I remember when I was a kid, jars came in a complete cardboard box. Now they come in this recycled, really thin cardboard right flat with some really thin dividers. But for the small jars, it works good. It keeps the majority of the light out of it, and it gives you a little bit of padding between the jars. So especially for us, if we don't eat all this before we decide to move, we can pack it just like this. So anyway, just another little tip for you. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, get out there, shoot some guns, be safe, and most importantly, have fun. See you guys later.